In this podcast episode, Oz Pearlman, a renowned mentalist and performer, shares deep insights into the art of mentalism, the psychology behind reading people, and how illusion creates powerful experiences. He reveals how his career thrives on the illusion of mind reading rather than actual psychic ability, and discusses important skills like building rapport, resilience, and storytelling. Oz also reflects on memory techniques, deception detection, the role of vulnerability and confidence in sales and public speaking, and the mental toughness gained from ultramarathon running. Along the way, he offers anecdotes from his own life and career, culminating in a demonstration of his mentalist skills. Oz begins by acknowledging that his career is based on a lie, the illusion that he can read people's minds. He admits he can't actually do this, but has mastered crafting a narrative that convinces audiences otherwise. Unlike traditional magic tricks, mentalism often lacks visible gimmicks or props. It is an art form rooted in observation, psychological insight, and subtle influence. The appeal lies in making something seem impossible, akin to the prestige phase of a magic trick, where the mechanism is hidden and the spectator experiences awe. Despite the absence of a clear trick or device, mentalism relies on precise methods, training, and a well-crafted performance that guides the audience's thoughts. Exploring mentalism's roots, Oz refers to figures like Darren Brown and the amazing Kreskin, giants in the field who shaped modern mentalism over recent decades. Mentalism's origins date back about a century, connected to the era of psychics and mediums, where magicians borrowed techniques used by fraudsters or possibly genuine psychics for entertainment. The key distinction Pierce draws is that mentalism is grounded in learnable, repeatable techniques based on science and psychology, unlike psychic claims, which are non-reproducible and often unverifiable. This scientific underpinning allows practitioners of mentalism to teach and perform consistently. Mentalism depends heavily on rapport and trust, much like hypnosis, salesmanship, or confidence tricks. Oz emphasizes that without audience cooperation and trust, the illusions wouldn't work. Charisma and resilience form important parts of a mentalist's toolkit. Early in their careers, mentalists face frequent failures. Like stand-up comedians, mastery takes years of laborious practice. Oz speaks to the importance of observation skills, such as reading micro-expressions and body language, but clarifies that the accuracy varies widely depending on context. The goal is to create the illusion that these observations and subtle influences equate to mind reading. To showcase these principles, Oz guides a card exercise illustrating muscle reading, where involuntary physical cues reveal information to a skilled observer. He shows how even without touching the cards, he can deduce a chosen card through subtle reactions of the participant. He stresses that the real skill is hiding the mechanics from view and directing attention effectively. Oz expands the exercise to guessing poker hands, underscoring how body language and micro-expressions subtly reveal emotional responses that a trained mentalist exploits. The method isn't magic, but a refined psychological skill executed live in front of an audience. Oz explains that the true power of mentalism comes from the stories told around the tricks, which create memorable emotional experiences. The tricks alone are forgettable if not personalized. For example, learning a participant's birthday is small, but becomes astonishing when contextualized in a personal narrative. Connecting the performance to what matters to the audience amplifies the impact. He emphasizes that the audience is the star of a mentalist's show, with genuine reactions acting as gold. He likens wonder to a universal human emotion, critical for bonding and sharing unique moments. The episode touches on the subtleties of charisma and reverse charisma, where some people aren't necessarily interesting themselves, but make others feel interesting and valued. Oz relates this to conversational dynamics, highlighting how certain friends encourage introspection and vulnerability, making interactions deeper and more meaningful. He discusses the power of silence during a performance or conversation, where pauses allow the audience to digest and react authentically. Proper pacing, awareness of timing, and letting moments linger create a fuller emotional experience. Oz shares practical strategies for enhancing memory, especially for remembering names, a vital skill when meeting many new people. His method, listen, repeat, reply, encourages actively listening, repeating names to embed them, and then linking them to visuals, spelling, or associations. People often fail to remember names simply because they never properly heard them. He highlights that motivation and purpose are crucial for memory retention. For instance, wanting to use information actively, like in a podcast or a show, significantly improves recall. Note-taking and reviewing details after interactions are key hacks for long-term memory. When asked about spotting lies, Oz admits there is no foolproof formula. Deception manifests differently in everyone. Observing deviations from normal behavior, unnatural speech cadence, or over-detailed stories can be indicators. He predicts AI will soon enhance lie detection by analyzing voice patterns, facial expressions, and timing. Oz acknowledges traditional polygraphs have limitations, but believes technological advances in behavioral analysis may surpass them someday. Trusting intuition and looking for benchmarks in consistency also helps detect deception, though nothing is infallible. Oz emphasizes vulnerability as a powerful tool for connecting with others, be it in sales, social interactions, or performing. Admitting nervousness or imperfection humanizes you, making you more likable and approachable. Authenticity is critical. Audiences and clients can sense fake personas quickly, often triggering distrust. He recounts starting as a 14-year-old magician working in restaurants, learning early on that people care less about the skill alone and more about the emotional value and benefit offered, like entertaining waiting customers. Relating your offer to what audiences or clients truly need opens doors better than boasting. Oz shares a personal story of building mental resilience to rejection, explaining he mentally split himself into two identities, Oz the magician and his inner agent. This psychological barrier protects his core self from the emotional sting of negative audience reactions. He advises preparation as crucial to confidence, but once facing rejection or criticism, detachment and compartmentalization help preserve self-worth. This mindset, learned early, is applicable to anyone facing fear or anxiety about social or professional challenges, enabling persistence and less emotional fragility. Despite his skills, Oz candidly admits he is still susceptible to manipulation, especially by his children, illustrating the universality of influence. He describes himself as an honest con man who discloses up front that his tricks are illusions meant for entertainment, not psychic readings or fraud. The contract with the audience is built on mutual understanding of deception for fun. He touches on the dark history of mind control research and cult leadership, that emphasizing he never performs against unwilling participants. Rapport and trust remain essential. Without cooperation, mentalism can't compel. Hypnotism is discussed as related to mentalism in its ability to influence behavior through suggestibility. Oz notes that people vary in how susceptible they are, which stage hypnotists test via compliance tasks before inviting participants on stage. He highlights the overlap and synergy among mentalists, magicians, hypnotists, and stand-up comedians, all of whom use timing, pacing, narrative, and audience engagement to craft effects. He likens his show's flow to musical rhythm or jazz improvisation, where different paths and reactions lead to dynamic performances tailored to the moment. Oz shares his early interest in paranormal subjects like lucid dreaming and remote viewing. He outlines the basic technique of reality testing, frequently checking the time, to distinguish waking state from dreaming. By training this habit, one can consistently realize when dreaming and potentially exert control within dreams, turning sleep into vivid, interactive experiences. Though not mystical, lucid dreaming reveals hidden backdoors of consciousness. He reflects on how little effort it takes to unlock such abilities despite their profound impact, showing mental discipline's power beyond conscious life. Oz discusses that memory retention hinges on motivation and purpose. Without a clear reason to remember something, the brain offloads the data quickly. For him, podcasting, teaching, and performing create high stakes for memory, which enhance his capacity. He likens forgetting to the natural economy of the brain, which conserves resources for things deemed important. When learning, he advises associating ideas with emotional or practical endpoints to embed them deeply. Writing notes and journaling business insights helps form durable neural links, which can later be leveraged for relationships and performance. Oz candidly admits tricks sometimes fail during live performances. He has learned the importance of focusing on how the show ends rather than fixating on mistakes that happen mid-performance. People tend to remember beginnings and endings most vividly. He compares this selective recall to poker players who win despite losing many points and psychics who get a few hits amidst numerous misses. Flexibility in adapting to mistakes and having backup plans makes failures recoverable. The pick-your-own-adventure nature of his performances allows him alternate routes, softening the impact of errors. Looking ahead, Oz is preparing for the White House Correspondents' Dinner, a significant platform watched by millions and involving political sensitivities. He is rigorously planning contingencies to adapt to any scenario, aiming to impress but ready to pivot if needed. His biggest concern is apathy or disengagement from the audience, which he sees as a failure. Instead, he seeks genuine surprise and reaction, acknowledging that some moments are irreproducible and depend on authentic responses. His approach reflects mastery of both the art and science of live performance under pressure. Oz reflects on how easily people can be fooled and how mentalism exploits the quirks and limitations of human perception. Our brains seek control and coherence, making us susceptible to suggestion and misdirection. He likens the brain to a faulty lock, requiring the right jiggle for access. Skilled performers subtly guide involuntary reactions and direct attention to achieve astonishing effects. Understanding the motivations behind audience behavior, such as the need for attention or to avoid embarrassment, helps to neutralize challenges like hecklers while maintaining rapport and control over the experience. Beyond mentalism, Oz describes how ultramarathon running has shaped his mental toughness and self-awareness. Through pushing physical and psychological boundaries, he has learned to identify mental states honestly and overcome internal barriers. He recounts previous failures and how deciding not to quit in subsequent attempts redefined his limits. This endurance training is both metaphor and method for handling discomfort, suffering strategically, managing energy, and resetting mindset. The ability to deliberately face pain and push through is a transferable skill that enhances his performance and life resilience. Despite his success, Oz acknowledges ongoing struggles with imposter syndrome. He explains that he constantly self-assesses to improve rather than settling for mediocrity, driven by a relentless internal critic. This tension between confidence and self-doubt fuels continuous growth. He contrasts this with people content with their achievements, noting the complex relationship between gratitude, happiness, and performance. Striving for peak excellence often entails sacrifice and pain, but also immense satisfaction. The conversation touches on the challenge of balancing ambition, success, happiness, and well-being over a lifetime. Oz shares a poignant reflection on how becoming a parent heightened his awareness of mortality and the transient nature of life. This awareness brings freedom by reducing anxiety over trivial worries, reframing what truly matters. A practice he calls fast-forwarding your feelings helps him confront tasks causing dread by visualizing how brief the negative emotions really are, creating a mental shortcut to action. Recognizing mortality clarifies priorities and simplifies emotional responses, allowing him to focus on meaningful achievements rather than fleeting discomfort. Oz emphasizes the power of making others feel visible and valued by remembering names and details. This simple practice fosters trust and likability, essential for sales, performance, and personal relationships. He describes specific memory hooks like repeating names, associating them with spelling or compliments, and mentally linking them to known persons. These tools enhance social bonds and leave lasting positive impressions. The technique is quick yet effective, demonstrating small but meaningful ways to build rapport in everyday life. The episode concludes with Oz performing a complex mentalist feat, correctly uncovering a deeply personal detail, dates of birth and names, chosen by the interviewer without prior knowledge. The success hinges on detailed observation, a deep understanding of human psychology, and subtle influence rather than guesswork or research. Oz walks the listener through how openness, hesitation, and changes in thought reveal clues that he skillfully decodes. This performance encapsulates the essence of mentalism as a blend of art, science, and human connection.